It's 10 years since Prince William married the then Kate Middleton at Westminster Abbey. Earlier we spoke to the Daily Mail's royal editor Rebecca English to find out how the happy couple have been celebrating.
Well, yes, they got married 10 years today, unbelievably. I can't even fathom the fact that 10 years ago I was sitting in Westminster Abbey watching them walk down the aisle, but they did. And hopefully by the time you watch this programme, you will be seeing a really lovely new portrait of them issued to mark the occasion in the Daily Mail.
And Rebecca, it hasn't all been candlelit dinners, has it? They've been out and about and hard at work.
Yes, they have been out and about on what we call a royal away day, which we don't see very often at the moment because of COVID. They went up to County Durham, which is in the northeast of England, and they undertook a day of engagements there. Their first stop was to a farm where they chatted to local farmers about generational farming in the area and also the impact that COVID has had on them and how they are developing more eco-friendly methods of farming. And then in the afternoon, they went to the really wackily named Cheesy Waffle Project. Now, there's something very special about that, not just the name, I have to say. And that's because it is funded by an organisation called The Key. And 10 years ago, it was one of 26 charities that benefited from money that was raised as a result of the royal wedding. William and Kate asked for no wedding presents, but they asked people to donate to charity instead. And The Key received £33,000 as a result of that, which makes a big difference to small organisations such as themselves. And they were able to employ a new member of staff and to expand their work as a result. And one of those projects they helped was Cheesy Waffles, which helps young adults with learning difficulties. And they had a fabulous time on this visit. They even got involved in playing a bit of golf and were quite competitive about it. I think William really quite enjoyed the fact that Kate absolutely fluffed her first shot. And they did some arts and crafts and chatted with some of the young people that had been helped by the project. And a couple of them had been undertaking the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, and William spoke to them and said how much it would have meant to his late grandfather to have heard about how well they'd been doing.
You've been working alongside the Cambridges for some time now, Rebecca. How have you seen William and Kate grow and develop as a couple and as royals? And do you think that there's been anybody guiding them through that process?
I mean, they have changed a lot. I mean, that's inevitable over a decade, of course. But you've seen Kate grow in confidence and you've seen William grow in stature, I would say, as a kind of blossoming international statesman. So William had a really clear vision about the way he wanted their married lives to be. He didn't want to throw Kate straight into the kind of bear pit of royal life and take on full-time royal duties. And at the time, I have to say, people like me were quite surprised at that and probably somewhat critical. But actually, I think he has won the day because they went off to live as, a happily married couple in relative privacy when he was working for the RAF. And I think it gave them time to get to know each other and to feel comfortable with the way they wanted their lives to move forward. So I think, their lives have been very much driven by William, but I know there has been other input as well. So, for example, I can reveal, I know over the years that the Duke of Edinburgh frequently wrote to the Duchess, and while we don't know the contents of those letters, he has written to other members of the royal family, talking about their duties, praising them, encouraging them. And I know they meant a lot to her. So I suspect she has had input from the Duke of Edinburgh, but also from the Queen. She's felt very able to go and talk to the Queen about what she does. And I wrote a piece for Weekend magazine for the Daily Mail last week in which a former royal staffer told me that when they went on their first tour just after they got married to Canada, they were in Ottawa and we saw scenes akin to Beatlemania. But the first thing she did the next morning was kind of pop her head around the door and say, "Am I doing okay?" And they were like, "Did you not see what we saw yesterday?" But they said there was a great humility about Kate and a willingness to learn and a willingness to make sure she was doing things in a way that was appropriate for the royal family. So I think it's been quite a big collaborative process as well.
In their 10 years as the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, they've gone from a camera-shy young couple to a pair who can handle their major royal roles. The Daily Mail's editor-at-large Richard Kay has been taking a closer look at that Cambridge success story.
They've come a very long way. I mean, they were stumbling Kate was painfully shy. She deferred constantly to William. No one really knew what she sounded like until she gave that first interview, and everything seemed very stilted, and she was very nervous. And now you compare them. I mean, they're a different couple, really, and they're different people. They've grown in confidence. They've grown into the job. Perhaps we thought because they were young and glamorous and had quite a racy crowd at the time they were courting, that we thought this would somehow be transformed into how they went about their royal lives, that they'd be holding rather attractive soirees and parties at Kensington Palace. But it's not like that with William and Kate. They're much more low-key. There's a steeliness, if you like. They know there's enormous amount of interest in their lives, and they've done extremely well to sort of erect walls around that. They've kept their private lives private. They haven't complained and whinged about press intrusion, as we know a certain other royal couple have. They've just got on with it, and they seem to have managed expectation incredibly well. Despite the huge influence of his late mother and, of course, the Prince of Wales, William's role model is the Queen. It's his grandmother. It's about how she's gone about royal duty that he's imparting to his wife and how they go about theirs. By the nature of what's happened to the monarchy this year, or to the royal family this year, there has been, by necessity, a sort of a coming together between Charles and his son. I mean, the two have quarrelled furiously over the years. William is not going to follow his father's route as Prince of Wales. He'll do things very differently. His attitude is more, you know, we'll show people what we can do rather than what they should be thinking. I was surprised a little that he was so strong on this controversy over the Super League, but he was pushing at an open door. I mean, the entire country was behind him. It's quite different from some of the stances that the Prince of Wales has adopted over the years. Charles is going to need William badly. Without Harry, he'll need his number one son to support him in the coming years. I mean, Charles is ever closer to the throne. He's taking on more and more of his mother's responsibilities. Inevitably, that means William has to take on more of his father's responsibilities. The future in William and Kate's hand, it looks good. Looks good for the monarchy and looks good for the wider well-being of the royal family. They're clearly devoted to their children. They're going to put them first and foremost. I think it's made a huge difference that William was allowed to pursue a career before he became a full-time royal. I think it gave them fantastic time to establish those important parental roots with their children. And I think, incidentally, it's one reason why no one is shying more away from this idea of the crown skipping a generation to William than William himself. He wants the next 10 or 15 years as a dad, principally, before he has to worry about the obligations of being king. But eventually he will be king, and I think with Kate as Queen at his side, the royal family will be immensely popular, not just here, but right around the world.
To discuss this and all our other stories today, I'm joined today by the Mail's Saturday Diary editor Richard Eden and his Mail on Sunday counterpart Charlotte Griffiths. Welcome to you both. Richard, I'm going to start with you. You in the hot seat. What do you think is the secret of Kate and William's successful marriage?
Well, I think on a personal level, it helps that they got to know each other over such a long period. You know, they met at university, of course, and they had that period away from the cameras. There was no intrusion or anything like that, and they were able to get to know each other properly. They had their ups and downs, which we all know about. You know, at one point they did split up, but I think that made them stronger. And it really was having such a long courtship. You know, there was a bit of kind of criticism of weighty Katie, the way she was having to sort of hang around and wait for an engagement proposal. But I think it did pay off, that long time they waited. Remember, Princess Diana said openly that she'd only met Prince Charles 13 times before they got married. I mean, can you imagine? So they really didn't know each other at all.
Charlotte, we don't know a lot about William and Kate off the public stage, do we? We don't see a lot of their inner lives. We don't see them going out to dinner with friends, going to parties, that sort of thing. Is it because, are they deliberately low key, or do they not have any friends? What's the strategy there?
No, they've got lots of friends. They are big on the shooting circuit. They are big in the Norfolk sets, so the turnip toffs. But they don't do celebrity, the royals. There's a sort of unwritten rule that celebrity is not something they're interested in, and they can't really trust celebrities as much as they can trust their inner circle of sort of Norfolk dwelling, low-key friends. And they do have wild parties on these shooting weekends. It's just that, you know, they're behind, you know, stately home palace walls sort of thing.
Have you been to any of those?
I've been to a couple.
Oh, what can you tell us? Let's get Charlotte a drink and find out more.
I can say they get wild.
Oh, to be continued. Richard, how do you see their royal roles developing in the future?
Well, I think they've already started to change, and we've noticed that since the departure of Harry and Meghan, that it really is William and Kate sort of on their own. You know, they're the future. And I think even when Prince Charles becomes king, William's very much that king in waiting, and he'll be consulted. And we talked on last week's programme about how William is being a bit more strident, taking more of a sort of political role. We saw that when he intervened over the proposals for a football Super League. And he really is sort of finding his feet, and will be more and more central, I think.
That's all we have for you on our YouTube show. But to see the rest of this episode, including some more fascinating royal revelations, head to www.mailplus.co.uk/royals, or click the link on screen now.